It's been so long since we last talked. Gene Williams has grown a beard. How about that, everybody?
Yes, it has been. Rip Van Winkle here, man, sleeping through 2020 football season. But happy holidays, ho, ho, ho. It's a wonderful day, Tom Lang.
Yes,
it
sir.
is glorious today. Florida State gets a rare football win. We haven't seen many of those this year. How about that basketball team? 7 in a row against the lowly Gators. That is a beautiful thing. And then just for a little icing on the cake, little cookies by the fireplace for Santa Claus, you get the Miami being blown off the map, 62 points. And we talked about this off air. North Carolina set a new record, right, for a running back tandem in the history of college football?
They did. 500 and change yards for 2 running backs for the Tar Heels. It's the most a tandem has ever put together in the history of FBS.
Woo!
That is awesome. Nearly 800 yards of offense for the Tar Heels tonight. And the Noles offense wasn't too shabby either. After all the kneel down at the end of the game, 522 yards for the football team on the way to a 56-35 win in football, 83-71 on the hardwood earlier today. It was a 2-for-day for the Noles, and certainly 2 for 2 is a really good feeling tonight as we reconvene for the first time in nearly a month, Gene, right here on the Warchant.com postgame show. First off, before we get going, our thoughts and prayers are with Keon Johnson, who is at Tallahassee Memorial, and his family and the Florida Gators basketball program. A really scary scene today. We might get into it a little bit later, but he's remaining in Tallahassee Memorial Hospital tonight in critical but stable condition. So our thoughts are certainly with the Florida Gators forward. But once again, it was the 7th in a row for the Noles on the hardwood. That's what got the day started at 11 o'clock. If you tuned into Warchant TV at 9, you saw Jeff Cameron and myself prep you for the day. We spent an hour on football, an hour on basketball, and it turned out, Gene, that you got the results you were looking for. I'll let you start. You already gave us some thoughts about it. It was just a good day all around. But anything that stood out to you on this a day the Noles go 2-0?
Yeah, it's hard. Basketball a lot. I mean, I saw a lot of improvement just from the Indiana to the Florida game talking about, and we'll get into more basketball later, but I just want to say that right? You could see the growth. You could see Scottie Barnes, he's coming into his own. It didn't take long for him to get up to the speed of the college game. Boys, that kid going to be something special. And you can see the team, they're going to be pretty special. That was something else, Tom. And I know you get to do some videos with Ira Schofel, our resident basketball expert here, and then you also get to do, you call it ham analytics. Is that what it is? A really neat. So this is only for the basketball geek diehards, but man, it is great stuff. And you go through the whole shot selection sheets with graphics and everything else. So man, if you're an FSU basketball diehard, you will absolutely eat that up. And you do that at least once a week for us here at Warchant. So great stuff. And I'll just real quick, and it's crazy we're leading with basketball, so we'll get into that more later. But we just had to throw that out there because anytime you beat the Gators, it's a wonderful thing, especially when you beat them 7 in a row. But turning to football, it's a little hard, to put too much on the game because first, I think FSU had something like 45 scholarship players available for this game, and Duke was probably somewhere in the same neighborhood. You're playing with depleted groups. But you got to win. The offense clicked. We saw, and there's a healthy Jordan Travis. This team can score points. We've seen it. He was healthy in this game. And, they had a little hiccup there in the second quarter when things kind of went awry a little bit. And we can talk about that some later. But still, you put up over 500 yards of offense, 324 yards on the ground, man. It's exciting to see Tola-Fili get out there. Yeah. Ja'Kai Douglas look fast. Corbin, I don't know why people seem to always – I see him on our message board. Oh, why are you playing Corbin? Play Tola-Fili. Corbin does some really nice things, catches the ball well. He's a tough runner. 3 touchdowns for him, real solid there. Defense at times looked really good, and then it looked like one of the worst defenses in all FBS at other times. It was just Jekyll and Hyde the whole game. No,
I think, Gene, as we were approaching halftime, this looked like it was going to be a new low for a post-game show right here on Warchant TV at 28-21. The Noles going up 28-0 real fast in this game. The first drive on script, very much like a lot of Florida State games before, which is the scripted plays look great, and then you get turnovers, short fields, and scores. Next thing you know, it's 28-0. But that second quarter would not end. It went on forever, and really nothing went well for the Noles as we approached halftime. Honestly, I'm probably not the only one who was thinking about it, Gene. When it was 1st and 40, I was thankful there was about under a minute to go at that point, because if there wasn't, the way that defense was playing, that might have been a fair fight. It might have been in that moment in the game. But the good news is that Brendan Gant, who had already made a big play in the first half, makes the play of the game near the first sticks and hitting Chase Bryce. And we hope Chase Bryce is doing okay as well. but he lowers the boom on Chase Bryce, forces the fumble. 2 plays later, Jordan Travis is scampering into the end zone, and Florida State puts to bed. They go on the way to putting to bed the 28-point rally that Duke was putting together. So some scary moments in the second quarter as we got into halftime. Wasn't feeling very good. Had to walk outside, take a break. But then in the second half, things went right for the Noles, and this proves to be their day. So the ACC cellar, the streak against Duke, all those things, Gene, they are out of play. Florida State can't finish fast, and they have not ever lost to Duke in program history. A lot of firsts, a lot of worsts the last few years, but not this time. That is the one thing that this program can hold on to, and that's not a bad thing at all.
No, and the 56 points, by the way, scored is the most since in an ACC game since 2014 against NC State. Our Irish O'Fell tweeted out that stat. So that's something you'd see this season, that FSU matching going back to Jameis Winston days offensively. So that's impressive. And I know it was against a depleted Duke team, but it's still something. I mean, this team needed something to build on. If we want to pop up the defensive stats, Tom, let's take a quick look at those if you have those handy. And, Hamza Nasruddin, what a difference it makes just having him out there. Had that early interception, and then leads the team with 9 tackles. Had a breakup, a tackle for loss. It's a different team with him out there. Obviously, you mentioned, Brendan Gant. I mean, having the interception and the forced fumble on that huge hit. And you're right. When's the last time Florida State just hit somebody legally and knocked him like that? I mean, it seems like it's been a while.
And I got to tell you too, Gene, that play where he has the interception, he does 3 things really well. This is, Gant didn't play perfectly, but that was a play for whatever reason. Just the game kind of quieted down in that moment, and you could see it coming. Before the snap, he directs traffic, and he gets the coverage in line. So I think he had to correct where Hamza was, but he calls out the coverage. He gets everybody where they need to go. Then after the snap, he covers well. He fights off offensive PI and finishes the play. Forces the interception. That is a coach's dream, that play. And that could have been by itself a really nice day for Brendan after that one effort. But then what he does in the second half is he changes the course of the game. Somebody needed to step up and make a play, because it was here we go again for the better part of an hour and a half for Noles fans. And 44 in black with garnet pants and a gold helmet. He was the one who stood tall and was the catalyst for Florida State putting this thing on ice. Gene, it's been so long since I hit this button, but I don't know if it's programmed anymore. But I'm going to have to go
work. It's been so long.
Randy Savage, 7 Toms, thank you so much. Trayshawn Ward seems like he's going to get some burn. What do you think? Also, that touchdown to Pokey before he got hurt. I think it was just a completion inside the 5, 7 Toms. But was a really nice pass and catch. Yeah, that looked like it hurt a lot for Pokey, but that was one of the few plays early on in this game that the offense looked to go down the field vertically with accuracy. They were explosive to start the game again, Gene. They sure as heck will play a good quarter or sometimes a good half, but then when they run out of gas, they go searching. It's just that's been the storyline for this team the whole season, and it played out that way again today.
Yeah, if they can just, maybe the offseason, they can just get all scripted plays for every single play of the game, and we don't have this anymore, because it's just like clockwork. The scripted plays are over because they're going 3 and out, 3 and out. Happens every time. But yeah, Trayshawn looked fast. I like what I saw a little bit out of him. Maybe they'll get him more into the offense next season. And I was really impressed by that pass by Jordan Travis to Pokey, man. He laid that right in there. I mean, that's one thing I think we see out of Jordan. He does throw a nice deep ball. I think it's more the short intermediate routes, getting consistency on that's where he's got to work on in the offseason to be a complete quarterback. But he's got that deep ball, and I felt bad it might have been a big day for Pokey, and we hope he's all right too. Had a couple injuries here too. I know Fabian Lovett was a little scary. He was down face first for a while, but then they showed him at least walking off to the locker room, so hopefully he was just shaken up, and he'll be okay as well. I thought there was one other. Was it Emmett Rice, I think, his left arm. Also, we got to see what happened there to him, because that looked like maybe something happened to his arm. Hopefully it's something, again, minor. And Florida State does have one more game scheduled. We'll see. I know Wake has had some COVID issues. So we'll see if they can get that together by next Saturday. I guess the positive is with the new CDC rules, of a lot of it is maybe contact tracing. Maybe they'll be able to be back by it's better that it happened last week. So maybe by mid-time next week, we'll get enough guys in the clear that they can play. But keep your eyes on that. We'll let you know on Warchant what's going on there.
Yeah, certainly, Gene. With the distancing and isolation rules changing, that benefited Florida State this week to get some guys in the practice field a little bit earlier. We'll see how aggressive Wake is. They had a really tough time today, Gene, with Louisville, who was a team. That's a really weird program right now with the stuff going on with Satterfield. And did he talk to South Carolina and other schools? He says there are different rules for coaches versus players.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it? A coach flirting with another school.
Oh, it felt like a Jimbo Fisher press conference on Monday. I saw it, and I was like, ooh, I remember being in the room for a couple of these. So I was wondering if Louisville was going to show up, and they scored 45 on Wake. So Wake has fallen on hard times. We'll see how motivated they are. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I did fix it.
There we go.
All right. So thank you so much at 7 times. Remember, this show's about you. It's 850-805-5911. That's 850-805-5911 as we get back on the bike here on the Warchant.com postgame show. Gene, you have any more thoughts on today, or do you want to get to the callers?
Now let's give them. This is their show. We want to hear from the fans. It's finally something we will not get. Well, I'll get some complaints, I'm sure, but it's nice to spread the positivity around during the holidays. So let's go ahead and see what our good friends have to say. And I'm very curious who that first caller is going to be. We're going to keep the streak going.
Okay, so it actually, there's a new streak. It's like the Florida State losing streak is gone in football. So too is the Gator Kirk streak. He's number 2 in the room, but
GK.
Somebody's been waiting for over 15 minutes already, Gene, and that's Kurt in Oviedo. I don't know how to pronounce that particular town, but Kurt, go ahead. Welcome
Oviedo.
to Oviedo. Give me your thoughts, Kurt.
Oviedo. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Yeah, we hear you.
You know it is. Hi, Kurt.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm not nearly as legendary as Gator Kirk. I feel lucky to have gotten in front of him. Great day for Florida State sports, getting the 7th in a row versus the Gators, getting the win versus Duke today. And, of course, Army beat Navy. I'm an Army guy, so I love seeing that. I wasn't able to see every minute of our game today, so I was hoping if you guys could give us a little bit of insight as to some of the youngsters who really played out and showed out a little bit today, and, kind of setting the stage for the future for us. And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for the call, Kurt. Yeah, that's one of the positives. I know there's some people like, just let the season end, man, but this is a chance to see these young guys play and get them some much needed reps. And I mean, on offense, Lawrence Tolafili, he's a fighter. It's interesting. One of the broadcasters said on one of his runs that he runs a lot bigger than 181 pounds. And I'm thinking about that too, because he's a tough runner and he's got burst. And here's the guy I think he gets in the weight room, gets a little bigger, a little stronger. And I think he could be a really exciting back for Florida State. I mean, they've got a really good history the last few years of putting out elite running backs. And I think maybe he's got, not going to say he's quite to those guys' level yet. He's got a long way to go, but I mean, he's got some God-given talent. So I was really impressed with Lawrence. Defensively, we talked about Gant, what a good outing he had out there. I'm trying to look at some of the other guys. Sidney Williams had a nice day. I'm looking at some of those stats there. How about DJ Lundy, Tom? You got to see him come off a little time. He's got to realize he moves really well out there, and that's really exciting because do they need some young defensive players to get there and play a little bit better? And then how about, and the last thing, he doesn't seem like he's a freshman. He's a redshirt freshman. How about Travis Jay with that one-handed pick? That was awesome to see too.
That's an incredible play, and that's what we've heard all about when Travis Jay was recruited, when he committed, when he signed, is he's going to make plays like that routinely because he's a freak of an athlete, a two-sport athlete. People have been calling for him to play quarterback in a skill-shortened year. Gene, you can see why Travis Jay's future is very bright. I thought, Ja'Kai Douglas obviously was all alone for a touchdown in the second half, one of his 2 on the day. Toafili only had a few carries in the first half, but that one play, I tell Kurt, if he didn't see it, the one play, which is the 73-yard touchdown by Toafili, when you see him put his foot in the ground and explode for the 73 yards, the decisiveness, when he gets a couple extra pounds on his body to take on the toll, he's going to be so much fun to watch. And assuming LaDamian Webb comes back, Gene, you really have a nice 1-2 punch of explosive players. I think they're fine in that segment group.
Yeah, that's one of the few.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of things that you can point to on a day that, that's one of the more porous defenses in all the country in Duke. They gave up. They could have given up 100 points last week to Miami.
Miami gave up 100 points today.
That they did, and keep reminding us of that.
Yes, I will.
Next up on the Warchant.com postgame show is Gator Kirk. Sorry,
there he is.
You're number 1 in our hearts. You're the second caller tonight on the Warchant.com postgame show. But welcome to the program from Virginia Beach, Gator Kirk. How's it going?
It's going good. It's nice to get a win. I was going to complain about the defense in the second quarter, but you know what? We got a lot of young guys out there to play on offense and defense. And I think I really do think the future looks bright. They got some playing time. I think it's going to build some confidence, and hopefully we can get a win next week against Wake Forest. And not that we would deserve a bowl game, we might get some extra practices in there. So I'm pretty impressed outside of the second quarter with our defense as to playing so many young guys and how they perform. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I'd prefer, obviously you look at the final numbers, you saw that second quarter. I mean, it was awful. But I mean, the thing is the fact that they were able to play at a high level during stretches, it shows you it wasn't like they were just being gashed the whole game. You saw times when coverage was good. You saw times the defensive line was doing its job. The linebackers were filling the gaps, and you're like, well, it looks like a competent FBS defense. And then, whatever, probably a lot of youth and experience, rust, whatever, and they just let a lot of things get away from them at times. But there is some potential there, which a lot of these games we've seen this season, there wasn't even that. They just looked awful the whole game. So I mean, there is a little ray of light, I will say, for the defense.
So let me ask Gator Kirk. I'm going to bring him back for just a quick follow-up question because this is now his 33rd call to Warchant TV. So
really
racking up the calls, Gator Kirk. So I just want to ask you, sir, as the game approached halftime, what was your confidence level that Florida State was going to come away with a win?
I wasn't really confident. I mean, I thought we would win, but that we had, we really didn't perform that well in the second quarter, and they were going to get the ball back in the second half. But when we held them, or actually they had some holding penalties, which put them back, I thought that kind of changed our momentum, and we came out and kind of performed in the second half. We held them on the first drive, and then we performed. I just like all the other FSU fans, you kind of look at the negative, you overemphasize the negatives that we've seen. And so, obviously the second quarter was very depressing. But after that, I mean, when you look at it overall with how much we're depleted and how much we're playing the young guys, which is obviously going to be our foundation, and whatever we bring in next week with our with the early signing period, I think we're on the right path. I mean, next year 7-5 would be an improvement. 8-4 would be great, but I think we're moving up. I think we're saw a dramatic increase in our confidence and the ability of what we could do with the players that have bought in.
Well spoken, Kirk, and it's glad to hear some positivity. We expect that from you. You are a pillar of the show. You know what? We talk about pillars, and there's a lot of them. We got some of them in chat, and we appreciate all you guys. You know what you are, Gator Kirk? You're the monolith, and you know that monolith that shows up all over the world. You're so big with Warchant TV. You're the monolith of the show. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, he certainly is, Gene, and he stepped away. But good for Kirk, because I didn't think they were going to win at 28-21.
I had my – you know what? If they would have gone in and scored when they got down there, the 18-yard line, whatever, they go, if they tie this thing at half, FSU's going to lose this thing. I think that was big, just getting those – whatever it was, 3 straight holding calls or whatever that took them out of field goal range, and I thought that kind of changed the tide.
Well, it felt like, Gene, in the second quarter, the football field could have been 250 yards long, and Duke still would have scored. It wasn't a problem, and that was the hard thing to see. But it's amazing how much hope a stop and a score can give you. And that's exactly what they got to start the second half. Somebody needs to make a play. It changes the course of a game. It sounds so cliche, but then once you see it, it changes everything. People would not be rosy at all, Gene, if Duke kept on going and they kept scoring. But one play by Gant changes the feeling of the building. I wasn't there at Doak today, but I'm sure for those fans that were in the stands, they could see it. All right, short field, let's go capitalize. They did, and the rest was history in this game. Coming up next on the warchant.com post-game show is Maurice in Ocala. He's about to hear the bell right now. Maurice, welcome to the program, sir. What are your thoughts? And I believe Adam Fuller is going to be part of your call tonight. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. How's it going there, Tom? Gene, how you all doing this evening?
Doing well. Thanks for calling.
Go ahead, Maurice.
That's good. Appreciate it. I just don't understand. I hope that the little dressing that we see right now does not stop Coach Norvell from doing a full observation of his defensive coordinator. because we can't suffer like this going forward. There's no way possible. I mean, we have to look at the totality and try to do something, because this one game against this team and the way that 2 or 3 plays led to 21 unanswered points, we can't survive another season where playing off 6 or 7 yards and thinking that whatever's going to take place is going to take place. I just think that we need to do some due diligence on looking at somebody who can come in and really have some kind of cachet to really be a defensive coordinator for these Noles. We don't deserve this at this university year in and year out.
Well, thanks, Maurice. I think your sentiments are shared by a lot of fans if you're on social media or on the Warchant message boards. There's no doubt it's been a dumpster fire, the defense all season long. And it's going to be interesting to see what Mike Norvell does this offseason, because, I mean, that's his guy, and Adam Fuller's been here 1 year, but, man, has there been improvement? We saw maybe a couple of small signs today, but, man, you have a quarter like that second quarter when a bad Duke team is moving the ball at will against you. But, I mean, how much is that as a youth and lack of scholarships and guys opting out? I don't know, but I said in the beginning, this team, the defense needs to show improvement. I don't really know if maybe they showed a little bit in this game. Hopefully get one more game against Wake to see what happens there. But my point all along has been, if you go through this whole season, don't show improvement, what message is that sending to your recruits? What's it sending to your players? If you keep the staff all the same, it's going to be the perception like, well, how is anything going to be different? Sure, we can recruit a couple players, get a couple transfers, but something doesn't seem to be translating from the coaches on that side of the ball to the players week in and week out. I hear Adam Fuller, we talk to him every week. He knows his stuff. He's a sharp guy, but something he's doing is not working on the field.
Yeah, I would think, in the positive column, you saw that the players were still bought in the second half after everything went wrong in the second quarter. They were still playing inspired, but at the same time, one of the numbers I saw floating around, Gene, in that second quarter was that Duke's first half offensive output was higher than most of their games the last month and a half entering today's game with Florida State. So in a half, the offense that had been putrid for Duke was producing at a higher level than they are accustomed to doing in full games. And that's unacceptable, especially a team that got on a flight and they really didn't want to be there. You saw the effort against Miami last week. I mean, that was going to be called into question right out the gate. And at 28-0, you can put the game away with a couple of stops earlier, but they were just, this is what this team does. This is what this team is until further notice. And I would expect that, if there is a game with Wake next week, you're going to see, long strings of plays, drives, success against this defense. And that is a soul-searching question for a head coach entering his second year, coming out of a year zero without a spring camp, without a true fall camp and off-season workouts. Mike, that's why he gets paid the dollars he does, Gene. But Mike Norvell's got a real decision on his hands. Do you think it's a realistic chance that there could be?
If I'm him, one thing I'm looking at, does he have somebody viable to come in? I mean, it's like all the time you talk about, we'll just fire somebody. Well, you don't do that if you don't have somebody that you feel good and come in and do a better job. Then it's pointless, because all you're doing is just making a change for change's sake. You might bring in someone that's even worse. You don't know that. I know our fans don't think that's possible, but yeah, it definitely is possible. Is Will Muschamp? Well, I don't know. If you get somebody like that, then yeah, I think realistically you got to look at a change. If you can't find someone that has got a proven track record. And I'll say the one thing about Fuller, unlike I think Dillingham and some other coaches, I don't think he's got the track record. He doesn't have the resume that he's had ultra success at the FBS level.
Right.
So he doesn't have something really to hang your hat on. He really hasn't been successful consistently at the FBS level. If you get somebody that has been, is willing to come here and they share the same philosophy and you think they would work here, then I think it's got to be a serious consideration for Mike Norvell. But he's got to have that guy in mind that's willing to come here before you seriously consider making a change.
Looks like next up we have a recruiting question. Chris from Perry, Georgia is going to hear the bell right now. And I believe he has a question about the early signing period. Go ahead, Chris. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, Chris, we're doing well.
Hey, I got first off, just want to say that I think it's probably do great for our guys that were still on the fence for next week's signing. I'm sure this is going to push a lot of those guys over the edge. But, I also think that Mike Norvell is planning on loading up the trenches and trying to win games in the trenches. It really seems like he's targeting defensive linemen and offensive linemen with quality. He's not just bringing guys in for the sake of bringing it in. These 4-star guys are Yeah, I've been looking into them. They're pretty good players. And my only question is about the signing period in spring. When we have these guys that are filling these recruits from this year, I guess the numbers-wise, to get the roster up to the full strength, these guys coming in next year, are we allowed to kind of fluff the numbers a little bit so that we can get our roster back up to the full strength, I guess you'd say, by signing more guys this year that don't count towards next year? I guess I don't know. I'm wording this thing like weird.
No, I know exactly where you're going, Chris, and that is a great question. And I wish I had a great answer for you. There's a lot of moving parts in this. And the positive side, the NCAA's changed it where don't have that 85 limit. So, I mean, that's not a restriction there. The issue is the 25 a year limit the NCAA has imposed. Now, the guys who enroll early, there is some wiggle room on some that count back towards the last class and the other not. The short answer is Ira Schoffel, our managing editor, has been working. He's been talking with people at Florida State to really get a complete story explaining, because it's not simple. I mean, how did the graduate transfers count? All this other stuff. There's a lot of moving parts, and the NCAA is still trying to figure some of this stuff out. For right now, you're limited to 25 a year, and that's a huge limitation for Florida State, because with all the attrition, they could bring in a lot more than 25, especially in the transfer market, and they need those guys. What I can say is this week coming up, we will have a detailed story explaining all of that from somebody who knows, and he's researching, and he's going to give you the exact answer on this stuff. I don't want to speculate on how all that works, because it's not my expertise. And unless you have a better answer, Tom, how all that works.
No, I just know that, the 101 of it is the basic number is 25. That's what you're working off of. And there might be an exception or two to get you to the upper 20s.
But you can fudge a little bit.
Right, how the countbacks work. Obviously, a gray shirt wouldn't count, but you don't want to do that because you're looking for impact players and transfers now. But the easy way to do it as your starting line is look how many players sign, and then take that number and 25 minus whatever that number is what you have as your base remainder. But you might be able to fudge the numbers to get you closer to around 30. I look forward to that story, though, Gene, because it's about as bumpy as the ride as Chris was on in Perry. You could hear that. He was on some bumpy
and it's been probably the most asked thing the last couple of weeks, and that's why Ira's been working diligently to find a competent answer, because I don't think anybody really knows it. And here's one of the things, too, and this is, again, what drives me nuts are the NCAA, but there's a problem with the way that, and I get it, the intentions were good, graduate transfers, everybody else, you don't lose a year of eligibility. That was the right thing to do, given the pandemic and everything that's happened there. So the problem that is now creating is now you've got a glut of people and transfers, all these graduate transfers, and everybody else is going out. So what happens now? So all these teams want to take 7, 8, 9, 10 transfers. Why not? Florida State probably will. Well, if you're really limited to 25, that means you can only sign maybe 15, 16, 17 guys. That means there's going to be a lot of high school kids that would normally get a college scholarship that are not going to get it now.
Right. Yeah.
So that is a real problem. So you're going to have hundreds of kids that would normally get a scholarship to go to college that are not now because of this NCAA rule of 25 a year. They need to lift that limit, make it 35, make it whatever. There's got to be a number on that, because it makes absolutely no sense to limit schools to 25 this year.
Yeah, stop the press on the NCAA not making sense and stuff that they do. But, this has been a problem for baseball this year because the MLB draft only went 5 rounds. It goes, dozens of rounds. And so there are all these extra players. There's contraction in the minor leagues. There's no place for these guys to go when they come out of high school. In football, it's backwards, Gene, because they're not going to count returning seniors who would have graduated against your 85, but then they're not really helping on the way in with an expansion. So, I mean, you got to do both. But the question is, if you do that, when is your drop dead date on the 85 number? When does that get reinstituted? Would it be the 2022 season? You can tell, folks, if you're listening, this is just something that'll make your head spin, and it's part of the logistics, but it's critical, especially for this program that's looking to flip the roster. These are critical questions that need clear answers, and the NCAA isn't exactly they're not experts in giving you clear answers and consistency on things that they do. Tom,
the short answer is follow the Knight Commission's recommendations. Get the F away from the NCAA. That'll solve a lot of problems.
Absolutely. And find a way, find some pictures on somebody at ESPN, find something to get yourself out of that ACC contract, because you saw the SEC numbers this week.
Oh, my
TV
goodness.
money they're about to make.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole, man. You're going to really get me preaching here. I've been preaching from the mountaintop since the GRI was signed. What a bad deal that was. And everybody shot me down and saying, no, it's going to be great. They're going to make all this money. Notre Dame's joining the ACC network. Oh, okay.
Gene, if you'll remember, I was one of the few people that has been on your side since whatever that was, 2012, 2011. I've been screaming on the Jeff Cameron Show weekdays. Wherever people will let me say it, I've been making that argument as well. So you'll get no argument.
Thank you.
Here. So before we take our next call, just a quick note. There was a basketball game as well. Gene touched on it in the very beginning today. Florida got out to a really big lead and then a scary moment. Keon Johnson collapses, TV timeouts coming to an end. I actually heard this on radio. I was driving home from the pregame show that I was doing, and just an eerie, quiet, sad, and scary scene. The teams were sent back to the locker rooms, apparently, and they had a conversation. Leonard Hamilton told the Florida State athletic department officials that, listen, if Mike White and Florida want to call the game now, it's fine. Whatever you guys want to do, we will do. Emotional players on Florida and Florida State. They decide to continue the game, and from that point, Keon Johnson is the SEC preseason player of the year. From that point, Florida State really dominates. They go on a 17-0 run. They take control of the game. They're up big at half, and they do win by 12 points today as Florida State makes it 7 in a row on the Florida Gators. So if anybody wants to talk about that and talk about the basketball program, we certainly will accept those calls as well. But, Gene, any thoughts so far? We haven't talked since the season started. Scottie Barnes obviously did some extra things today, and I mean extra. Your thoughts on what you've seen?
Oh, man, how about him posterizing that Gator player? Man, that was something, man. That was fun to watch. It's a little bit – look, it's a win over the Gators. You take it, like you said, not only did they lost their emotionally, I can't even imagine that one of your teammates – I mean, having that kind of a scary incident right in front of you. I mean,
I'd probably call the game there if I'm Mike White, because he's in critical condition, so it wasn't looking good in
it wasn't like a guy who fainted from dehydration or something. There was something very wrong there. And again, our prayers are with him and his family, and hopefully he gets better soon. And but also, like you said, they lost their best player. I mean, he's their best player out there, and he's playing well. And it's a win's a win, but I mean, there's bigger things sometimes in basketball, but it is 7 in a row. Hopefully he gets back out there soon, is healthy and good to go. And
obviously there was an overtime win on Wednesday over Indiana to go along with the Florida game, a big game on Tuesday against the Georgia Tech team that did take it to Kentucky. Most everybody's doing that these days in hoops. What a backwards world we live in. Next up on the Warchant.com postgame show, though, is Alan, and Alan's calling from Miami. He's here in the Bell right now, and he wants to ask about some rumors surrounding assistant coaches. So, Alan, welcome to the program. Give us your question and your thoughts, sir.
Yes, I'm curious about the rumors going on with possibly Odell and Dugans getting replaced.
Gene, what do you think?
Okay, Alan. Yeah, I've heard the rumors too, and I can't say they're not true, but I can't say they are true. There's definitely some scuttlebutt that there could be a change to the wide receiver coach. We'll see. That's one of those big offseason things. I mean, the last couple of years, you've heard the rumor about Odell maybe moving up to the boosters and working for them. Again, I don't know if that decision's been made, that it's going to happen this year. Obviously, Odell Higgins will sit down probably after the season with Mike Norvell and discuss that. And we'll see what happens. I think if he continues on a defensive line coach, he's obviously been tremendous there for years. He's a Florida State Seminole through and through. And if he moves on to the boosters, I'm sure he'll do fantastic things for Mike Alford and that group. So either way, he's going to be part of the Florida State family no matter what he ultimately decides. But I think there's a decent chance there is going to be some shakeup on the coaching staff. I don't think they're going to go with the exact same coaching staff that we see now in 2021, whether that'll be one or two coaches. Will it be a defensive coordinator? I don't know, but I think there'll be something. But those are they're not just, I wouldn't just say that's just pure speculation. I think there could be something to those rumors, but I also don't know if a final decision has been made on either of those guys.
So currently the lines are open if you want to get involved. 850-805-5911. The number is at the bottom of this video. And also, if you're on YouTube, I should note, if you haven't hit subscribe or like to this video yet, do so. And then hit the bell after you hit the subscribe button, because every time Warchant TV comes out with great content, be it the recruiting chat, Wake Up Warchant, this show, Ira and I, as Gene said, will be doing weekly videos. It'll be a Warchant Hoops report of sorts with a a conversation for 15 or 20 minutes a week. Anytime there's anything that Warchant TV puts out there, you will be alerted. So we do appreciate you hitting the like button and the subscribe button. So, Gene, let me ask a follow-up question there. If there is going to be a replacement at the position level or coordinator level, wherever it's going to be, the checklist for you, what would check the boxes for the incoming coach? What do you need to see?
Well, especially if we're talking position coaches, I think a coordinator is separate from a position coach.
Okay.
I think with a position coach, I think if there's a weakness on the staff that I see on the whole, it's a lack of recruiting, lack of hired guns. You got to remember when Jimbo Fisher first came in, he had those guys. He had the Damian Craigs, he had the Coleys, the Eddie Grands, the guys that were proven commodities in recruiting. A couple of those guys, Coley and Grand, they had South Florida on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard that they talked about in the broadcast today that Florida State, that's one of the things they have not recruited very well in South Florida. I think if you can get a guy at one of those positions who's got the inroads in South Florida, I think that would be huge for that. So I think he needs to look recruiting on one of those guys. Obviously, track record and all that kind of stuff would be good too.
Yep.
But I think the recruiting takes precedence in my mind for a position coach, because I think those, especially wide receivers coach, I don't think you need, I don't think you need the second coming of, a great coach to oversee that position. Yeah, defensive line coach, there might be a little bit more coaching going on there, but I want to see guys that are outstanding recruiters, at least one of the two, if not both. Now, coordinator, it's a little different. I want a guy who's got a proven track record at the FBS level, who's maybe even has a track record of turning a defense around somewhere, because it's, he's starting from the bottom at Florida State. So, if I could get those things at a defensive coordinator, that'd be great.
Well, agreed there, Gene. And that was the thing that, if you're making the argument for Fuller upon the hire, anywhere he's gone. Now, I agree with you about the FBS stuff, but if you look at the efficiency metrics, he improved the teams each year. Wherever he went, things got better. But it's not taking place the way that the S&P would suggest it was going to take place in year one. And there's myriad reasons for that. But I fully agree with you when it comes to position coaches. You've got to have guys. Maybe they're all an existing high school coach in South Florida. I don't know. But people who have those types of connections, that Jimbo's staff 1.0 was unbelievable. You're absolutely right. Divided up the Miami area, county for county. Coley and Grant went to work, and Mark Stoops had connections down there. Yeah, Elliott did work down there. They focused on that part of the state, and with Miami struggling today, maybe there's a guy or two that we're thinking about the Canes that maybe a phone call might change things if you had the right guy on the other end of the line. And that's where Mike Norvell has to look. I agree. We had a commenter who said that when you were answering the question, recruit the state of Florida. Mike Norvell's calculation was they would develop and they would win, and the tape would speak for itself, and then they would forge relationships. Then the pandemic happens, and they can't even meet these people face-to-face. So, he got burnt for a calculated risk. He bet on himself and his guys. He didn't win that bet. How many changes does he make is the next question. So we'll go next on the Warchant.com postgame call-in show to David. He's right here in the 850. David, welcome to the program. Give us your thoughts and or questions, sir.
All right. I just want to say I'm calling from Tallahassee. I just watched the game. I do like what I'm seeing as far as momentum swing. I do think this will carry over to 21 with more of a positive aspect on that season. However, I do feel as if the players themselves need to be more hungry and aggressive and more focused on where they want to take their careers from Florida State into the next level. Florida State has produced many, many talented NFL players. Right now on this roster that we have very talented young men on this college team. I feel as if that they really do need to carry the torch of their brothers and get back to that iconic standpoint and be them national champions again. Because we have the right potential to do it, we have the talent to do it, and we have a good coaching staff. Although little minor things need to be changed, but I think in the next 2 to 3 years, man, Florida State is going to be one of the teams that they talk about, how they talked about us all 2020. Yeah, they're going to be talking about us again in a few more years, but more of a positive aspect. So, I'm really loving that right now. So,
well, thank you, David. First of all,
yeah, David, love the positivity, man. We got some people, there's some stuff to hang your hat on. You talked about that hunger. You know what? And I think that was a problem earlier in the year because I think some of the guys, and we saw some of the guys who held over, who obviously weren't completely focused and didn't buy in, or whatever the case is, most of those guys are gone now. I saw more oomph in these guys, more purpose. I mean, you see the young guys, you see Tolafili, you see Lundy, you see Ja'Kai Douglas, you see guys like, I mean, they're getting after it. You see Jordan Travis running around doing things. I mean, there's some exciting young players on this team, and they brought up again, that last game. Now, this game, I don't remember the exact starting line. I think Brady Scott was one of the guys in there, but you had in the last game, NC State, you had 4 freshman offensive linemen start in there, and that's a good basis to build for the future. I really like Coach Atkins. I think he's one of their best coaches they have on the staff right now. You build up that offensive line, you got some young, hungry, talented players. Yep. I think you can do some things. I think we see all the potential on offense. I think we see that there. They need to get a couple big-time wide receivers, but I think everything else, the foundation is there for a really good offense. I think the issue is going to be on the other side of the ball. You got some good young players, but that's where the connection, that's the difference between this being in a year or two being a 7, 8, 9 win team and being a championship level team, is that defense. That's where we've got to have some massive upgrades, whether that's coaching, players, or both, but something's got to happen there.
Yeah, I think the answer is both on defense. I don't know. I mean, they've got a couple of players that could take them to some sort of threatening a championship level kind of style of play and or the aptitude to get us there, but I don't know that they got more than a handful, and that might be generous. Mm-hmm. I do think David absolutely could work for the boosters and or the season ticket office and do wonderful things for them.
Yes, David. Make your application. Send it to Michael Alford.
Because that kind of passing is contagious. And David, you're in a place that I wish I was right now as an Nole fan with that type of optimism, because I part of me has forgotten what it's like with the football program to feel that type of optimism. Certainly you feel it with the basketball program all the time now. But, that offense, you're right, Gene. If there is a path to getting ranked again and being consistently in the top 25, it would be through offensive production. I think that's the thing that you can hang your hat on if there is anything year over year. But 7-5 or 8-4, like Gator Kirk said, or if it was our first caller tonight, Kurt, that would be the improvement level I'm looking for next year. Baby steps with little flashes and little moments and maybe some upsets that give you some extra hope. So Helicopter Kicks with a little bit of a
oh yeah.
Thank you, sir. And he's reminiscing, Gene, on the Warchant.com post-game show. He says, when in the actual F did Pruitt or what in the actual F did Pruitt have that turned that 2013 defense into a monster? Was it just Mark Stoops players? Love you guys. So what do you think, Gene?
Well, I looked this up because I wanted to double check on this. You realize, what do you think FSU's defense ranked in 2012, the last year of Stoops?
Oh, top 20?
Number 2.
Number 2. There you go.
Number 2. So I think the foundation might have been laid before Pruitt got there. And then look at all those guys. I mean, you saw the graphic, I remember, after the 2013 season. Every single member of that defense went on to the NFL. I mean, you basically had an NFL defense. I'm not knocking Pruitt. I'm sure he's an okay defensive coordinator, but that was, to me, the foundation had been laid with recruiting and elite defense on that side of the ball, and they came together and they were badasses. I mean, they were going to be, I don't care, Tom, you could have coordinated them and they still would have been a top 10 defense. I don't think it mattered with those guys. You roll those guys. When you got LaMarcus Joyner and Telvin and, all those guys and Timmy Jernigan, they were going to be beasts. They were beasts. Yeah. And they were unbelievable.
I could have been like Stoops and called 2-man under the whole game, and I would have been fine. What Stoops did was recruit a ton of pass rushers. He was exceptional at getting pass rushers in here. I mean, even the guys that were mid-level recruits, like a Bjorn Werner or a transfer like Tank Carradine, I mean, they kept hitting. Brandon Jenkins, obviously, he would have had a monster year if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
With Frank injury, he would have had a good NFL career after that as well. Stoops and that first staff set the stage, and then Pruitt brought the attacking style, and they needed to make adjustments that season anyway. Remember, Gene, it was after the Boston College game that they made a couple of tweaks.
Christian Jones,
they found a home for him. He wasn't a traditional linebacker. He was in that hybrid position, and that was the Maryland game where they beat him 63-0, and the rest of history for that defense. The only time they looked confused was in the calendar year 2014, the first half of that Auburn game, which was just, a travesty. But other than that, they were absolutely dominant. Next up on the Warchant.com postgame show is Ryan. Ryan's calling from Jacksonville, and he wants to talk about the 50 burger that the Noles dropped today.
Yeah, baby.
The program.
How's it going, guys? How's it going? You guys know me as Big Papa East online, and I'm just sitting here eating my register sausage after a wonderful win against Duke. And I tell you what, watching Jordan Travis put up as many exciting plays as he did, am I the only one who's excited to see an entire offseason maybe dedicated to designing an offense around him? Because I tell you what, I like him. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Oh, Big Papa, man, you're speaking my language, man. I love it. Yeah, I still see people on our site that like, I don't think Jordan Travis can be the guy. You know what? Follow the history of lately in college football and even into the pros. Some extent, you don't need to be an elite pass. You don't need to be Peyton Manning passing the football to be a really good. Tim Tebow won a Heisman and got Florida, all kinds of stuff. He was not a good passer. Lamar Jackson, we're seeing in the NFL, not a great passer. You see these guys all the time. Now, can he definitely improve? Absolutely. And I think it's great to have a whole off season with Jordan Travis to work on that. Let's get him competent throwing the football. You know what that's not only going to do? It's help the offense for the passing game. It's going to open more things up for him running the game if he can develop that. And I think you can. I think with that, and then you've got to give him some weapons to throw to, too. I think that's people don't realize that. I saw also some complaints today on our site, like, why aren't we seeing more receivers run routes on us? Well, after Pokey got hurt, who was left out there?
Right.
I mean, it's all freshmen basically, and these guys don't know what they're doing right now. So you got to get a couple elite wide receivers out there, have them perfect that. You're right. I'm really excited about what Jordan Travis can do given an offseason. If they can, offensive line all comes back, you get a couple elite wide receivers. We see what those running backs can do, man. It could be a really exciting offense next year.
So Big Papa East checked a lot of boxes there. Yes, good question, and I can't wait to see that battle in spring. Like, I don't know that Jordan Travis is the guy to take us where we need to go, Gene, but he's a weapon, and he does things. The things he does well, he's uniquely gifted at doing. But Big Papa used to ask that question. He mentions Register Sausage, and that'll put a smile on somebody's face here who's going to join us in just a moment. And then he also uses a soundbite from the Cameron Show with Jimbo Fisher when he was eating the peanuts and the Diet Coke when he did the tour a few years ago. So well done by Big Papa East. Now, to the aforementioned man who is live at Doak Campbell Stadium, we welcome him in. It's my guy from the Hoops Report. It's Ira himself, 5-star himself. Welcome, Ira. How's it going?
I'm good. Is my connection okay? Because you guys sound a little shaky, so I didn't know if it's on.
Well, that's just Ira. That's just us. You sound quality as always. We're always shaky, so that's how it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're great, Ira.
A little skeptical of the Wi-Fi here at Doak today. Even though there was about 17 people in the stadium, my Wi-Fi was pretty weak all day. So,
we'll bail if it ever becomes a problem. We'll bail, but that's consistent, at least, Ira, is the Wi-Fi system at Doak. But what was not consistent was the first half effort today for the offense and the defense, but things bounced back in the second half. What did you learn in post-game interviews tonight?
First of all, one thing that kind of came up at the end is I think Aslan might have asked. Yeah, Aslan asked Hamza Nasruddin and Brendan Gant. Probably should ask some other guys as well, but how eager they are to actually keep playing football. Like, are they done? Was this kind of the last hurrah, or do they still want to go play at Wake Forest next weekend? And they were really quick to jump on that and say, no, they're very excited and they want to keep playing and they want to finish the season strong. So that's good to hear, because it seems like, they must have had 45 scholarship players there today. You had new guys starting a different position, new walk-ons playing key minutes and playing key roles. And so you kind of wondered if they were kind of limping down to the stretch and whether they wanted to keep going or just going to have this be the last hurrah. But they were adamant that they want to keep playing. And, that was, I think, the biggest thing that really the takeaway from talking to Mike Norvell and all the players was that this game really felt like a reward to some degree for the guys that have stuck together and stuck this out. They've had a lot of players opt out. They've had players who are injured. They've had players who are in the transfer portal. But these guys who are here today, these guys that stuck around and played, it was a really special day for them. There are a lot of individual big plays, and then to get the win, 56 points is the most points they've scored in an ACC game since 2014. And I know it's against a bad Duke team, but they played some bad teams over the last 7 years and haven't done that. So I just think it was a neat day for these guys who have been through so much.
Hey, Ira, once again, the familiar theme cropped its head in this game in the first half, and that's Florida State first 4 drives, 4 straight touchdowns. Next 4 drives, 2 turnovers, 2 punts, and they do absolutely nothing. And then the defense, of course, as we always see, flips the script, and they decide to just be a sieve to everything Duke wanted to do. Again, I know I ask this question to you every time you come on here after a game, but any rhyme or reason for this? I guess the good news is they got back to what they were doing in the third quarter and got back things together. But, is there any kind of explanation of why this continues to happen?
I really do think it's what we've seen for most of the season, and that once 1 or 2 things go wrong, they have a hard time kind of fighting through it. And you have just the mistakes compound upon each other. What was impressive about today was that when they went into halftime, the lead had been cut down to 7. Duke had all the momentum, just dominated the second quarter. And for Florida State to come out in the second half, get a turnover, punch it in, turn it into a touchdown, get the ball back again, score again, and push that lead up to 3 or 4 touchdowns was huge, because that's the first time they've done that all year. Mike Norvell said that was the thing he was most happy about today, was when things went poorly. They went poorly there for a while, but once they regrouped at halftime, came back out, they got the forced fumble, knocked Duke's quarterback out of the game, and the offense kind of poured it on. So you're right. I mean, that's kind of been their MO all season, but at least this time they found a way to kind of dig out of the tailspin, which they really haven't been able to do all year.
One of the positives of this is we were able to get to see a lot of young guys maybe we haven't seen center stage. You know, Ja'Kai Douglas, Toafili, Lundy looked good on defense. You know, you mentioned Gant, obviously had that big hit. Any guys that jumped out at you, or any reaction to the post game about how some of these younger players reacted today?
Yeah, I think, I'm with you. I mean, I think the fact that Lawrence Toafili and Ja'Kai Douglas, those are 2 guys that, were in this recruiting class, and we've seen glimpses of them this season, but they both look like potential difference makers. Now, again, they're playing against Duke, but they look like guys that could score from 50, 60 yards out, make big-time plays, which we just haven't seen around here. FSU's offense, even when Jordan Travis has played and played well, when this offense has scored, it's kind of been a slog. I mean, they've had to kind of put together big drives, long drives. They don't have many guys that can, as Jimbo used to say, change the numbers on the scoreboard really from anywhere on the field. And those guys look like they have the ability. Toafili, I was really impressed by his speed. I didn't know he had that kind of speed really. I knew he had some, but he looked like a different level today. We had heard that earlier in the week from Kenny Dillingham, the offensive coordinator, said that you're seeing that burst back from Toafili. He's kind of dealt with injuries all season. He had 7 carries for 117 yards. And then I also like Trayshawn Ward, the walk-on running back.
Yeah.
Showed a lot of quickness and speed, a nice burst. I think also just some of the older guys. I'm impressed by some of the older guys too. Think about Brady Scott and Keon Johnson. Brady Scott in particular, lost the starting job. They were playing, freshmen this season before they went to Brady Scott. Tonight, Maurice Smith, the center, is out. They start Keon Johnson center, put Brady Scott in at guard. And I think he played pretty well. And the offensive line played really well. They rushed for over 300 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then on defense, as you mentioned, Brendan Gant had a couple of big plays. He also had – or Travis Jay had that crazy acrobatic interception. We asked a couple of the players about that after the game. If you've stopped watching the player interviews, I think a lot of people have stopped watching the interviews as the season has gone on. Watch them tonight, because those guys had a lot of cool things to say, and they were really happy for their teammates.
All right, we're going to go to the social media and let our fans go ahead and participate in this. And Josh Rackley wants to ask you, because you are the eye in the sky, man. You get to watch those guys with your eagle eye. And what was going on the sideline? Have you seen a difference? I guess what you saw in this game versus maybe a month or 2 ago, what you were seeing on the sideline.
There actually were some really special moments, I thought, on the sideline of this game. I mean, the celebration when Hampson Nasruddin had his interception was really one of the more special moments I've seen in a long time from this football team, because it must have been the entire team. I mean, like literally everybody came over to him and mugged him, and it wasn't because it was a big play, but it's because of what he's gone through the last 12 months, and to work his way back in. It looked like a lot of us wondered whether or not he would even come back this season, and he comes back in these last 2 games. He led him in tackles, had the interception. And the guys were just it was such a genuine excitement for him. And, he said he was really moved by it. He said it was one of maybe the best thing that's ever happened since he's been at Florida State. Just that moment and the way the players responded. Also, when Trayshawn Ward, the walk-on, scored his touchdown, same kind of thing. Some of the other, it was, and again, it's easy to do when you're winning. It's everybody celebrates when you're winning. But it was neat to see some of the different groups of guys that did, like Lloyd Willis, a freshman offensive lineman, got in there, and you'd see other guys going over to him and kind of encouraging him for getting in the game. And, it was, again, I think this group, and I don't want to oversell it because it's a win over a 2-9 Duke team. But these guys who are still here, I do think they found something together. There's a togetherness to that group.
All right, the last thing I want to ask you about football, and I want to close with a basketball thought, but first with football. A lot of people are asking like who was out there, who wasn't, and I think you'd put your pregame updates. There was 45 scholarship guys that were there, and then I mean, what was I don't think Warren Thompson, was he not out there today? And then after Pokey got hurt, who was left at wide receiver? Who's out there actually running routes?
Yeah, I think they were down to like 4 scholarship receivers when Pokey got out. So they were playing.
Portier was one of them.
Yeah, Portier. They had Keyshawn Helton, Ja'Kai Douglas, I guess, plays there, and they were having to play running backs at receiver.
Yeah, I kept thinking running backs got in motion. That's why I asked. And
they're really thin. And to Ray Pereira's question, I see Ray, our guy Ray on the screen. He's right, and that was one of the things that Brendan Gant said that was important tonight, was that guys were good. They were being good teammates. And it sounds like that was, that's one of the messages that's kind of been hammered home. Again, it's, not, this didn't solve all their problems. It's one win against a Duke team. It's only their 3rd win of the season. But you saw some positive signs. I mean, I really think you saw some positive things that, and then to hear them talk about the way they want to play another game. We're seeing, if you look around the country, the teams that have already said they don't want to play bowl games. Boston College has already said that. Pitt's already said that. I think you're going to see more of that. And I don't know for sure that these guys want to play a bowl game, but after today they might want to, and you might have wondered about that.
Now, put into basketball. First of all, I don't know if you've heard anything. Is there anything new on what we've reported? What's been out there on Keon Johnson? Anything? Have you heard anything scuttlebutt about it? We know he's stable but critical. He's staying overnight at TMH. We haven't heard anything besides that.
Yeah, Florida's put out that I guess his family's flying to Tallahassee to be with him. I mean, haven't heard anything good. It's just it's really one of those terrible situations, and really, if it wasn't for that, I think today would have been just an unbelievable day for Florida State athletics. Basketball getting the big win, 7th straight win against the Gators. 2 big wins in 4 days for them, beating Indiana and Florida, and then on all the highlight reel plays, and then for football to play like they did and get a decisive win against the conference team. But that's I think that's just kind of there's a pall over the whole day because of that. And I know you guys, we all are just hoping for the best.
Yeah, praying for him and his family.
Yeah, we just haven't heard anything good.
But trying to stick to basketball. I mean, it seemed like Scottie Barnes is kind of like you saw it in the Indiana game, but then it's like that seemed like him having that 3 in overtime and then the game-winning shot. It seems like now he's got the confidence. I can play at an elite level in college, and it seemed like the switch just got flipped. And did it seem like the team? I see part of that. I don't know if Florida just had a letdown, obviously for very obvious reasons, or did Florida State really look like they went a level up from how they played against Indiana?
Yeah, no, I think they definitely did play better. And what happened to Florida, you can't discount it. But Florida really challenged them early. I mean, I thought they've challenged them physically. They went after Scottie Barnes defensively. They were really trying to pressure him. They had a week off before that game, and it was Florida State just played Indiana. Is just their 2nd game of the season, 3-4 days ago. And so it was a tough spot for Florida State. And Florida was so motivated because they've lost these last 6 games in the series. And, I wasn't surprised that Florida jumped on them early, but it wasn't just that they were playing well. They were challenging FSU. They were up on them physically. They were very aggressive. And I think that, at that timeout, Florida State came out just started – it seemed like they calmed down a little bit. And then as the game went on, you started to see the athleticism, as you said, of Scottie Barnes. This was the first chance we've got to see Scottie Barnes. A lot of people have asked about, the scoring, and he's not going to be a guy that scores 30 points a game. But this was the first time he's had guys come out and challenge him on the perimeter. And, he showed he could beat guys off the dribble. And if he does, and he gets a head of steam, it could be something else. So that was really cool. And I think you're going to see more of that in the ACC. He's going to get opportunities like that as he plays better teams because they're not going to just sag off him.
Yeah.
They're going to challenge him. And if he beats them, man, he's something special.
It's a great point. I noticed that a couple times when Florida would come out in the Garden, because he's such a big, when he's playing point, he's so big, and their guy comes out, and once he goes to his right and he gets a step on the guy, and it's over. There's just no chance.
And he's got those long strides because he's so tall. I mean, it's something else.
So that's a little preview. You can hear Tom and Ira talk about basketball. You guys will do another basketball report this week. And Tom's got his Ham Analytics coming up. So a lot of good basketball coverage coming up on warchant.com as we make that transition from football to basketball. And it looks like it's going to be another great season for Leonard Hamilton. Tom, any final thoughts? Anything you would like to say to Ira before we let him loose and let him hack away all night on some great stories?
All right, Ira. So quick question. Of the 3 dunks in question, there was the first one from Scottie in the first half. Then he got one on Scottie Lewis in the second half. And then there was the MJ Walker poster. I know you were keeping count of all the posters that were being printed today. Which one was your favorite? And was it because of the dancing and or the step over after that it was your favorite?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Scottie's second one, I think, first of all, because Scottie Lewis was the guy that was jawing so much early and really kind of barking at the bench a little bit after he hit a 3. So that one I really enjoyed for him. But the MJ Walker step over, I mean, I think, and the fact that it was MJ Walker, we just haven't really seen him do that much. I think Scottie gets the overall award for having 2 of them. But I'm going to go with MJ's for the most special overall. That was something else.
We would keep a running dunk-a-meter on Warchant and just each week grade the top dunk. That sounds like a good thing. Well, Irish,
how'd you feel, Tom? Which one did you like the best?
I think the step over is
that was it for me. I love the step over. The broadcast they brought up Iverson, and they were just saying that's the Iverson dunk there. So I thought that was very apropos.
Well, and so he steps over, and then he just dropped up the court like nothing happened. And I love that.
It was just disrespectful.
Yeah,
it was just disrespectful.
On so many levels, it's disrespectful. Like Scottie's doing like Fortnite dances and stuff after he does. Like he's dancing around, he's going on his head, and then he's doing like this, and they're inbounding. That's going to get cleaned up. I'm sure Ham is not going to like that upon film review. That's not going to go well for Scottie in the meeting room. But for MJ to just stand over somebody and then trot up the court like nothing happened, and he daps. It might have been Ball, so I forget who it was, or Wyatt, and then he keeps going. Man, that is he's got a little bit more of a personality to him this year. It's not just that play. There's a little bit more of a focused swagger to MJ Walker, and that's the reason certainly I've got hope, Ira. We could talk basketball all day, though.
Yes, and you will later. But Ira, before we let you go, what we got coming up on Warchant here post game?
Corey's writing a column right now. I think he's going to tie in some of the basketball exploits and also the football, just kind of what the day was like for Florida State. So his column should be up pretty soon. We're going to go record our wrap shortly after this. We've got a lot of stuff. I'm going to write a story about Hampton National Dean and just that moment and what this year has been like for him. And a lot of the Coach Norvell and a lot of the players talked about how emotional that was and just that scene with him. And then we'll come back with a lot of coverage of the new guys that stepped up in this game, as you guys mentioned earlier, Ja'Kai Douglas and Tofili, and the young guys that Brennan Gant, the young guys that give you some reason for optimism going into not just next week but into next season.
So I know we're going to also have our post-game grades, and I'm going to step aside because we're going to have one of the guys at PFF who does the actual grading is going to do a story for us, and he'll be available on the Warchant message boards afterwards to answer questions. Because invariably, every time I do it, I go, well, I don't understand why our quarterback graded out at 62.3 when this, and I'm like, I have no idea. I didn't do the grading. So a guy who actually does the grading will be there to write the story and to answer your questions on Warchant. So I'm very curious to see how some of these guys, how the offensive line you mentioned, how did Bavion grade out playing center? How did Scott grade out? How did, look like Jordan Travis ought to grade out pretty high. How'd he do? So very curious to see how that shakes out.
Thank you, Ira.
Thanks, buddy.
Guys. Take care.
The great Ira Schoffel, 5-star Schoffel, joining us here on the warchant.com post-game show, and good stuff. And Scott, man, appreciate that. Scott, you are asking on the recruiting the wrong thing here, but I will say Michael Langston did put up, I'm going to pull this up, 10 recruits, uncommitted recruits to watch for Florida State. That was a story this week, and he's got a rundown. I think both of these guys, or at least I know Garcia is mentioned. We'll have to see in the others, but there will be a lot going on there too. And he also says, good day for Nole fans, the wins basketball court and football field. And that would be very nice if Florida State could build on the Wake Forest if they could get that game in and also get a win there. And I'm curious if there's not a caller waiting, Tom, we can discuss what do we have a caller waiting, or can I bring something up here?
Go for it first, and then we'll get to Mike in a moment.
All right, Mike. Hold on a second. I'm very curious because Ira brought this up. And I want to keep him too long because I got to keep him. I don't want him up 3 a.m. He's got to work for us. He does. He slacks off sometimes, so we got to get him motivated before he falls asleep. So, the bowl game thing, it's curious. Now, I've heard Pitt and BC have opted out. I've heard there's going to be at least another ACC school or two, and I've heard it's very much alive and well, the potential of Florida State playing in a bowl game. But there are a couple issues here going on. A, the players have to buy in. When you're down to 40-something scholarship players left, if a handful decide, you know what, I'm done, I want to spend the holidays with my family, then you can't play. Yeah. I mean, that's on the table too. And then the other thing is financially, it's not like you're going to get much of a payday because they're not going to put anybody in the stands. It's probably going to be in Florida. Maybe you have 5,000-10,000 people at the game. And I don't know if ESPN maybe pays a little bit more for the bowl than it normally would. I don't know, but you're getting 10 cents on the dollar what you might normally get for a bowl. If you get the invite, Tom, and I've heard there's a decent chance they're talking to a couple bowls right now. There's a decent chance to get the invite. What do you think the chances Florida State actually accepts and plays in a bowl?
Well, I would wonder, Gene, and you've looked into this with records requests in the past. Would you lose money by accepting a bowl bid, or does the bowl cover expenses?
Now, they usually do. That is usually the bowl. That's part of the deal, that they will pay the travel expenses. And we're talking bowls in Florida. I mean, and right. Michael just posted this, and that I'll say that's what I heard, 2 or 3 bowls. And one of the ones I heard was Gasparilla Bowl. So it's a bus ride down to Tampa. It's not super expensive. You get in the extra practice. But here's one of the other slights on that. I believe that game is December 26th. So say goodbye to your Christmas.
Yeah.
It's not just, you want to get those practices in. They are invaluable, especially the not having spring practices. I think it's great for Mike Norvell and the staff to have that. But man, that's why I brought it up. I just don't know. Is it worth it to try to play a bowl game?
Yeah, it's a different season, Gene. This feels like the epilogue, doesn't it? Like today, next week, because you had the month off. It's just it feels odd. Like they all need to be on board, and the bubble sucks in a way that we don't understand. It's already really, really hard for a student athlete to be what they are, especially a football player. But this pseudo bubble that they're in right now is terrible because you don't have all the creature comforts that a bubble like the NBA would give you, or Major League Baseball playoffs. It's literally like go back to your dorm or your apartment and don't do anything.
Yeah.
And it
sucks.
That's asking a lot for players who've been committed for a month without playing games, and then you got 2 extra to say, hey, let's do it again. I personally, selfishly, as a fan, and as somebody who wants to see the program improve, every practice, every game is critical. But I'd also understand. I wouldn't call them a bunch of quitters if a few of them decided that it's been too much, and they've already asked for them to extend past the exam period of time. Gene, graduation was yesterday. They had a ceremony. I don't know if they have one today as well. So typically you'd catch a break right about now before reconvening for bowl practices. These guys haven't had it. They haven't had it. It's a really tough ask. I'm conflicted on it, but if you're asking me selfishly what I'd want, get all the practices you can because nothing's promised. But
I'm sure FSU wants it. I think, the fans want it. But and John, I think very succinctly just said exactly, the guy on YouTube right here said it exactly. It's up to the players in my mind. It doesn't matter what FSU wants. If enough players vote that they want to play and you've got enough scholarship players to play in the bowl, then play it. But if they don't, you say that I would do a quiet vote and say it's entirely up to you. We're not going to press you. Whatever we want to do, what you guys want to do. If enough players want to play it, play it. If they don't, say, hey, we completely understand. Have a great off season. We're going to get back at it as soon as you come back from break and get ready for 2021.
So we appreciate both Scott from a moment ago.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Fulanito, who's got my man from the Goonies superimposed on the Nole logo.
Oh, yeah.
What is his name? That's going to kill me.
I was just someone will put it on our chat. Please put the name
Ruth?
up.
So before we join our next caller, that's Mike and Ocala, who's here in the bell right now. Just a note, Gene, at halftime, it is LSU 24, Florida 17. That is a
woo! Could that be? Oh my gosh, today would be so epic if the Gators would lose today. I hated during the broadcast they were putting up the standings for the potential playoffs and they kept talking up the Gators and I'm just like, stop! They're not going to beat Alabama. Shut the F up. But it'd be nice if they just lost to LSU.
Well, and Herzlich's on a controlled substance if he has Florida ahead of Texas A&M. And
that's nuts. You beat them head-to-head. Shut up.
Head-to-head. So, anyway, Mike, you're hearing us talk right now. Now you're on with us. Go ahead, Mike. Welcome to the program. What thoughts do you have on tonight?
Hey, guys. How we doing?
Doing well, man. Good day for Noles.
56 points, boys. 56 points. It feels really good to get back on the offensive scoring prowess, and really proud of the way that they competed throughout. You guys and Ira talked about a little bit what I wanted to just mention specifically about the true freshmen, Lawrence Toafili, Ja'Kai Douglas, doing big things today, and even the walk-on Trayshawn Ward. That guy showed a lot of burst and speed this evening. I was really impressed with him, and I feel like he can get some more carries, and almost reminded me of a LaDamian Webb in a way, but a faster LaDamian Webb, just kind of his running style. But I guess my question tonight was specifically about some of the play calls that they have for Jordan Travis. I'm not 100% sure if he's back to his normal healthy self, but I just always cringe whenever they call those quarterback runs, and at least I would like for them to disguise those a little bit, because I just don't want to see him really take those hits, because even tonight in the third quarter he was banged up. It seemed like he got a little banged up, and Sean Corbin had to do some snaps. But tell me about that, guys. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'm with you, Mike. A couple times they cringe, especially when they do those. It's a 3rd and 3, and they run him between the tackles, and he's a tough kid, and he doesn't know how to. He doesn't seem like he knows how to slide a lot of times, and he's gonna battle, even though guys have 100 pounds on him. I don't mind when he's out on the edges; he can get out of bounds or he can slide. But yeah, those do make me a little bit nervous, and I think that's one of the things for the offseason. Not only improve his passing and work on that, but get him a little stronger, a little bigger in the offseason, so we can take some of that punishment. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Obviously, that shoulder has been very fragile this year. I don't know if he was banged up or not, but obviously they were calling the game as if he was completely healthy because they didn't hesitate to run him.
Yeah, I agree. Every time he gets hit, I cringe because the odds are that something's going to go wrong. And again, we've had this discussion before, and I feel bad because
there's no Chubba to come off the bench. That's what's scary.
It sounds like I'm picking on Jordan, but it's just the reality of the situation. Is he's gotten hurt most of the times that he's played for Florida State. For any meaningful amount of snaps in the game, something's gone wrong. Something's been banged up. So I know we had a question from a caller who left during the Ira interview. Who's going to ask that same thing, which is, do you trust Jordan Travis to be healthy for a full season? My short answer is no, Gene. I don't know. Would you, and how much work would he have to put in? How many pounds would he have to put on his body in the offseason for you to believe that he could, if the answer is no for you?
I think it's a little bit unfair. I think people are putting the fragile tag on him. I don't like that, because I think this was the issue in the preseason. He's had a shoulder problem the whole time. I would not be surprised if we hear after the season, again, I hate to speculate about injuries, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a cleanup or something done to his shoulder in the offseason. Give him some time to get a little bigger and stronger, get that shoulder healed up. And then, as our last caller said, maybe you learn on your play calling to not expose him as much as you have in the past. Maybe you have a better wide receiver core. The offensive line's a little bit better. He can run more consistently. Maybe you won't have to rely on him to throw his body around to make those 3rd and shorts or kind of plays that you're calling right now. So I don't think that's fair for him to say that. But the nice thing is, Chubba Purdy, I think we've seen he's obviously got a lot of potential. I mean, if you get him healthy and ready to go for next season too, I mean, it sounds like you've got 2 really good quarterbacks in the system if he does get injured. They are similar. I don't think you need to change the playbook too much for the 2 different guys. Maybe a few less running calls with Chubba. He's not quite as mobile. But I don't think it changes the essential nature of your offense if it's either quarterback.
I agree.
First, woo, Jay. Oh, my goodness.
Before we go to our next caller, thank you, Jay. We very much appreciate that. I'll give you a second one.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your support. If you ever have a question, Jay, I'll look for the green letter J, green and white. Feel free to follow up with one, and we'll get to it. But next up on the Warchant.com post-game show is Thomas. He's been waiting patiently. He's out in Ashburn, Georgia, and he's about to hear the bell right now. Thomas, welcome to the program. What question do you have tonight, good sir?
Hey, guys. Go Noles. I just wanted to ask about the game flow.
seems like the game flow is herky-jerky at best. Throughout the games I've went to in person or watched on TV, seems like we get in a flow, and then we forget what the flow is, and then we have to like wait like a quarter before you get back in the flow. And so I just want to really know how does the play calling affect the game flow, and can they adjust that so that we can have like an even keel kind of game progression?
Yeah, that's a good point, Thompson. It's something that it's not just this game. We've seen it all season. Again, I think it's the game script. I think they script plays and they run them in practice all the time, and they're competent. They know what they're doing. And we see it, and they execute it on the field. And then when the script runs out, you get like, okay, it's just kind of like, let's spin the wheel and see what we're going to call. And they seem disjointed at that point. So I think that's it. I don't know if, Tom, you have a different opinion on why they've had this pattern of it looks like everything's flowing, and then the offense just goes, like I said, 4 straight touchdowns and then 4 straight series of absolute garbage on offense.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty simple. And this is something that a mutual friend of ours, Gene, pointed out to me months ago, which is you can kind of tell the exact moment when the script runs out of plays. And that's just – it's something that this team has chased all season long. There have been stretches where they've been good for maybe a half against North Carolina, but it's mostly somewhere between a drive and a quarter. That seems to be where they have the length of the script. You can't script the whole game, so they're searching for consistency. But that's the thing. Once you get off a script and you get out of the plays you run all week in practice, that's when the Jimmies and Joes take over, and there just aren't that many. So that's the hard thing. I think a lot of bad teams around college football are all saying, well, why can't we be consistent? Well, it's because you're not a good team. I think some of it is just kind of self-evident. Now, the good thing is that they responded tonight. That's the thing that was different about tonight, because you've seen the script before, Gene, where there have been good stuff, good quarters, and sometimes good half. They got lucky to escape the North Carolina game with a win towards the end. This one, they took it back. Yeah. And I understand that the bar is extremely low. That's a 2-win Duke team. But you got to do it to somebody at some point to know that you have it in you. And so that's the thing tonight that I'd focus on. It's just when you don't have a bunch of good players, then you don't have erasers. And if you don't have erasers, like think about the flow of the game with Dalvin Cook. How many times were there defensive linemen who blew up a play, but he's just supernatural and he can make that guy miss and it's a gain of 6. You never think of that play again. Well, if you don't have guys like that all over the field, then the consistency is not going to be there once you get off the script.
That's a great point. I mean, I harken back to that Michigan game when they had all the momentum going in the bowl game, and then there's Dalvin goes whatever, how many 70 yards or something like. Well, that's the game.
Yeah, there was a 3rd and 18 or a 3rd and 21. They call it a draw, and it's just Dalvin Cook makes a play, and the drive ends up going for a touchdown. I mean, it's just stuff like that can flip a game on its head. And when you get more of those guys, when you have guys that look like Travis Jay playing offense for you, hint, hint, maybe he wants to play receiver. That's when you can start to change things and guys can win one-on-one matchups. It's just you don't have a whole lot of those. So that's a long-winded way of saying I agree with you, Gene. Next we'll go out to Denver, Colorado. Hey, I scheduled a trip for Denver after the COVID vaccines come in.
Well, is this our Colorado buddy?
This is Jalen in Denver. I don't know if it's the guy who joined the guy on the left, but go ahead, Jalen. Welcome to the program.
This is not the guy who coined the guy on the left. But hello.
We love you anyway, Jalen. We appreciate it.
How you doing?
I'm the guy who makes the drive from here to Tallahassee and back.
That's legit.
Yeah. Big drive. Got to do it again next week.
All right.
Before I have to go, guys. FSU got a win today in football. Surprisingly, I guess, as we put up some points. Basketball, Scottie caught a couple bodies, big Scottie bodies. I like that. The Packers about to win tomorrow, so we already know how that goes. Guys, I don't know. I'm just feeling good. I'm so full of Seminole pride. I'm about to go get hammered after the game. I'm about to hang up.
I love it, Jalen. Why are our best callers always from Colorado? Is that because there's something that's legal out there? Is that what's going on?
It could be. Well, I think he wants to get his old-fashioned alcohol drink on. Nothing. I don't know if there's anything in the gummy category or whatever it is that they have out there in Denver. But positivity, Gene.
Yes.
It's amazing what a twofer on a Saturday can do for you. You win both games. It does feel, and you guys said it correctly in the interview. The Keon Johnson situation is something that rightfully casts a pall over the day, and you just hope that young man and his family are smiling as they walk together out of TMH in the days to come. That's sincerely what we hope. But if you focus on just the sports, and what happened on the court and on the field today for the 40 and 60 minutes they played respectively, you've got to feel good. Allow yourself to feel good for a day. It's the holiday season. Duke came down here and they laid down a little bit in the second half, and then obviously the basketball team continues to improve game after game. There's reason to be optimistic today. There's reason to be happy and put on a Santa hat.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, we haven't had many of these lately. So, yeah, it is a wonderful time. And, yeah, we got a great basketball season to look forward to. Let's cross our fingers that they're able to get a basketball season in and they can get that vaccine out there. And, I think Corey mentioned it during the Wake Up Warchant this past week that maybe there'll actually be some fans at March Madness if we get there. How cool would that be? So, yeah, things are looking up. Let's hang in there. We're all in this together. As Seminole fans or human beings, whatever the deal is. And, yeah, it's a good time. Miami, I'm not going to forget again, Miami got blown out by North Carolina. That's a beautiful thing. Florida is losing at halftime to LSU. That's wonderful. Come on, Tigers, hang out. Have one good game this year.
That is
knock the Gators off. That would just be, oh my gosh.
Stunning score, Gene. That is an absolutely stunning score.
LSU's almost been as bad as FSU this year.
I don't know if it holds. It probably doesn't. But, I mean, Alabama could have scored 70 in the first half last week if they wanted to. And LSU has every right to – I mean, the reports are that nobody gets along with O anymore. Like, that could have been a lay-down-and-die type game for LSU today. But I guess they're fighting. So the question I have, Gene, we're out of callers for the moment. Do you want to go to Norvell's press conference? Do you want to have some final thoughts and close it up for tonight? What are your thoughts on
we can
day?
Yeah, we can probably close it down because if you want to see, we've got, as Ira mentioned, Mike Norvell's post-game interview. You can go to warchant.com, or if you're on YouTube, just go to the Warchant YouTube channel. It'll be right there. If you're on here now watching the show, you can easily watch it. Plus, like he said, he encouraged you, watch some of those player interviews. I think you'll see a little different attitude than maybe you saw a few weeks ago from the players. So that'll be a lot of fun too. So yeah, you can check those out. We don't need to run it here. You can watch it there, but like I said, a good day. Obviously what happened, with the Florida player, again, like I said, I hope to see in a day or two, him walking out of there with his parents out of TMH and heading home. That'd be a wonderful thing to see. And, but things seem to be turning around for FSU Nation. We're close to 2021. Here in a few weeks, and hopefully it'll be a better year. This was not a good year for anybody, FSU sports and everybody who lives on this planet. So hopefully things will be up. Yeah. We'll celebrate New Year's Eve, Tom,
yes,
and have a great time. Drink heavily.
Yeah.
And if you're in Colorado, you can really party hard.
Yeah. We'll tell 2020 to go to hell, right?
Yeah, you got it.
There's no doubt. And also today, I should mention, somebody did one of our callers that I'm an Army guy too myself, so I was happy to see Army carry the day. That was a low-scoring affair, foggy affair out at West Point. Happy to see that result to the Navy brethren out there. Sorry about you. But I got to say also, Gene, that the angry man needs to say his piece before we go, and here he comes.
We are sorry, but the show has ended. Goodbye.
All right.
All right. Angry man.
Post-game show. We got to thank all the callers, all the commenters, the people who have contributed to the program. Irish Rafael, who was live from Doak Campbell. As Gene said, the interviews. You've got a Jay-Sean Corbin interview. Jordan Travis and Toa Feely shared the stage, and so did Hamza and Brendan Gant, who was the player of the game on defense for me today. A ton of.
Someone asked, too, do we see who did the hammer in the locker room after the game?
I did not see that.
Okay, now and we'll have that up on Warchant. Usually Warchant's Twitter has that. Sometimes they put the video up of that. We want to see that as well. But yeah, good times for Florida State. And hopefully, Tom, we will be back next week. They have not. I think tomorrow they did. I don't know why you do a 6-day option. Like seriously, but they did the 6-day option. So we should know tomorrow the kickoff time of the Wake Forest game. Please don't be a night game.
I would think it would be an early game because they're trying to clear the way for all the conference championships. So you can hope that the ACC has logic in somewhere in its brain, in its recesses, but we'll see. But once again, make sure to subscribe here, like the video, check out Warchant TV for all the latest news, and head to warchant.com. Use code Warchant30 for a 30-day trial. Check out Hamalytics this week.
Yes.
Chris and I submit that
Georgia Tech, big ACC. That's Tuesday night, right? We got the ACC debut.
ACC opener, 8:30 tip for Georgia Tech. We'll do a little bit on Tech, and then we're also going to look at some of the early returns on Florida State's players. That's what Chris and I.
And then don't forget, early signing day. We'll have full coverage for you on Wednesday. So that's always a huge day at warchant.com.
Head to toe, you are covered. For the one and only Gene Williams, the founder and administrator of warchant.com. We'll see how much more of a beard he has this time next week. My name is Tom Lang. I'm the guy on the left. Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the warchant.com postgame show.